life insurers put life into the things you live for. The new factory that's hiring your neighbors. Maintenance on the bridge that keeps traffic flowing. The paycheck that puts pizza night on the table. Life insurers contribute $8 trillion to communities and local economies through bond purchases and other investments, and protect the financial security of 90 million American families, like yours. See how life insurers put life into America at acli.com. Paid for by the American Council of Life Insurers.
At Capella University, you can learn at your own pace with our FlexPath learning format. Take 1 or 2 courses at a time and complete as many as you can in a 12-week billing session. With FlexPath, you can finish the bachelor's degree you started in 19 months and under $19,000. A different future is closer than you think with Capella University. Learn more at capella.edu. Fastest 25% of students. Cost varies by pace, transfer credits, and other factors. Fees apply.
And now I want to bring on the show my good friend John Fund, who you all know John Fund. He's one of the smartest political minds in Washington and around the country. He worked for many, many years as the chief political voice at the Wall Street Journal editorial board. You have to read the Wall Street Journal editorial board, page every day, as I do. And then he's worked many, many years at National Review as their chief political consultant. You see him on Fox News. You see him on Newsmax everywhere. John, thanks for joining.
Pleasure. Thank you, Steve.
Okay, I want to start with Elon Musk. I'm angry, John, because, well, you've been in Washington and in and around Washington maybe about as long as I have been. And I mean, it's you know, the title of my piece on Fox News this weekend is, Did Elon Musk drain the swamp or did he drown in it? And I want your view of what happened with Elon Musk. So much promise. You know, he came in, good faith effort, and he was laughed at and he was ridiculed.
Well, worse than that, he was blocked at every turn. Mm-hmm. I think the first problem that Elon had is everyone knew that he was a 5-month special government employee.
Right. So they waited him out.
They weighed him out.
Yeah.
And, of course, they throw everything but the kitchen sink at him to slow him down. I think that in retrospect, and it's hard to realize this then, he should have announced a team. He should have had more people around him, and he should have appointed his successor when he took over, saying, I may have to step back and go back to SpaceX and Tesla, but this guy's going to be around, and he'll be your worst nightmare because he'll be on this 24/7. In retrospect,
I agree.
There are Doge people that are going to be hanging around, but they're anonymous. They don't have any clout. And frankly, I think Russ Vought will do a good job as the likely new director of Doge, but he has his hands full. I mean, he has to do a budget. He has to do a lot of other things. So that was the first thing. The other thing is they made a few mistakes at the beginning, and I think what they should have done is should have had more prep time, talking to people who did the Grace Commission report in the 1980s, talking to think tanks around town. As far as I can tell, Steve, there was no contact between Doge, Musk, and the existing infrastructure in Washington to root out government waste, fraud, and abuse, such as Tom Schatz's group, and the National Taxpayers Union and the others. I think there needed to be an all-hands-on-deck approach, and there wasn't.
I agree. I think that those are all words of wisdom. I think the problem, too, was that, there was naivete on the part of Elon Musk, and that happens with a lot of businesmen who think, I'm going to come in and clean.
He's admitted he had no idea Washington was this bad.
Exactly. I mean, so it's not a business. It would be great if it were run as a business, but it isn't. And they put on their armor and is from day one and attacked him every time he talked about the waste that was going on in Washington. And by the way, folks, it's not just Elon Musk who's exposed this. There are government auditing reports that have shown this incredible amount of waste. A group that you and I know about is openthebooks.com, which has found incredible amounts of money. What's that?
Absolutely. Yeah. And again, there was no direct pipeline or contact that Musk had with these groups. It's sort of like there's a building on fire. It's Washington, D.C., and you send a SWAT team in, and the SWAT team arrives, but there's absolutely no support vehicles around it.
So one of my frustrations that I was just saying, and I think you heard me because you were on the line, was that I think the thing that disgusted me the most was instead of liberals, there are many good government liberals who really do believe in good government. They believe in big government, but they allegedly believe in good government. They attacked him mercilessly every time he exposed, for example, the fact that the foreign aid establishment, literally, not figuratively, literally hundreds of millions of dollars. They couldn't even tell what happened to it. They said, oh, we lost it. I mean, and so you would think that good government people would say, hey, we got to do something about this. Instead they excused it.
Well, Steve, there's a parallel path here. The problem with the government blob in Washington is this. It builds up a lot of barnacles. It builds up a lot of constituency groups, Beltway bandit consulting firms. Lots of people live off of government.
You better believe it.
Conservatives for many years had the same problem. They supported reform of every government spending program except the Pentagon. Well, we all know the Pentagon is an incredible waster of money.
Yes, good point.
The government procurement system produces weapons that are far more expensive and often outdated by the time they're finally built. And there's a lot of reform that needs to be done in the Pentagon, but conservatives were often silent because they were part of the military-industrial complex syndrome.
Yes.
And
John, this is an excellent point. In fact, I thought right from the start, if I had been advising Elon Musk, I would have said, let's start with the Pentagon, because this is a $1 trillion enterprise. It is a military-industrial complex, and you and I want a very strong, muscular defense. Of course, we want our national security to be funded, but if you've ever been to the Pentagon, you and I have both been over there. There are cobwebs in some of these offices. Nobody even knows what these people do. It's the biggest bureaucracy in the world.
Well, not only did we not start with the Pentagon, look, I like Pete Hegseth personally, but he does not have the management ability to jump in there, and he didn't have the background to work with Elon Musk to clean up the Pentagon early. And, Hegseth has been bouncing around. He has good intentions, but his management of the Pentagon has frankly been a mess. People being fired, people leaving. So I think the Trump administration so far has missed a chance to really, they've gotten rid of DEI at the Pentagon. That's good. They've gotten rid of woke stuff. That's all good. But the actual hard part, government procurement and other things, I don't see the progress yet.
So I want to change directions for a minute. We just got a couple minutes left, but I wanted to ask you about something that you've been following for many, many decades, and I have too. The Congressional Budget Office. Now, most people's eyes are rolling. They have no idea what we're talking about. But these are the people who tell us, if we pass a tax bill, here's how much it's going to cost and so on. And for the 40 years or so we've been following this, John, they're always wrong. They always overestimate how much revenue will be lost from a tax cut, and they always overestimate how much revenue will be raised when they raise taxes, and they always get the growth rate wrong. And why do we rely on these crystal ball gazers who always get it wrong?
Because the real name of that office, the CBO, is the Congressional Budget Defense Office. It is there to defend the budget and the size of the budget. We have to realize if Republicans control Congress and control the executive branch, there is no reason why they don't sweep out the cobwebs and put in people who at least have their models haven't failed every time so far because they've never been tried.
It's amazing. And it's just, it kind of disgusts me that it's one thing to say they've been wrong a few times, but they're always wrong and they keep repeating the same mistakes. Now, do you think, where do you think things stand right now, John? You've been following this closely on the tax bill. It's obviously through the House. Now the sausage making factory moves over to the Senate. Do you think that the bill, we were on earlier, on the Kudlow show with Steve Forbes, and I said I'd give the tax bill that came out of the House the grade of a B, and Steve Forbes said he'd give it a grade of incomplete. And I thought that's a better grade than my grade. What do you think? Where do we go from here?
Life insurers put life into the things you live for. The new factory that's hiring your neighbors. Maintenance on the bridge that keeps traffic flowing. The paycheck that puts pizza night on the table. Life insurers contribute $8 trillion to communities and local economies through bond purchases and other investments, and protect the financial security of 90 million American families, like yours. See how life insurers put life into America at acli.com. Paid for by the American Council of Life Insurers.
This National Foster Care Month, Marine Toys for Tots is providing hope to children who need it most. Staff Sergeant James Caldwell, who grew up in foster care himself, shares that while handing out gifts at a Toys for Tots distribution event, a little girl looked up at him, reached into her bag, pulled out a stuffed animal and said, "Someone needs to make sure you get a toy too." That simple gesture embodies the heart of Marine Toys for Tots, ensuring every child, including those in foster care, experiences the kindness that can transform their future. Visit toysfortots.org today.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
This message comes from Greenlight. Ready to start talking to your kids about financial literacy? Meet Greenlight, the debit card and money app that teaches kids and teens how to earn, save, spend wisely, and invest with your guardrails in place. With Greenlight, you can send money to kids quickly, set up chores, automate allowance, and keep an eye on your kids' spending with real-time notifications. Join millions of parents and kids building healthy financial habits together on Greenlight. Get started risk-free at greenlight.com/Spotify.
I think the Senate is going to be a little better on spending because they don't have things like the SALT caucus to try to change that egregious blue state subsidy. I think that they're going to mostly keep the existing tax structure in place, and they're going to send it back over to the House. I think the House is going to have a tough time swallowing some of the Senate changes, but President Trump will intervene. He'll lean on people and say failure is not an option, and we're going to pass it. I believe the real challenge, since the bill is a reconciliation bill, a lot of the budget doesn't go through that bill. So, it was unrealistic to think that it was going to lead to massive spending cuts. I think where we have to go next is we have to, in the regular budget, the president has got to decide there has to be fundamental reform of government programs that don't necessarily involve cutting them, but improving the delivery of services. A perfect example is Medicaid. By the way, there's a great amendment that's going to be prepared by Ted Cruz, and John Goodman is advising him. You know John Goodman, the economist.
Of course. On medical savings accounts.
On medical savings accounts, in which Medicaid patients would have the right to get a voucher so they could buy their own version of concierge on-demand medicine rather than having to go to the emergency room, waiting hours and costing all of us hundreds of dollars because emergency room care is the most expensive of all. That's a major change.
It's a great point, and people can be cost-conscious consumers. One of our big issues at Unleash Prosperity, and John works with me at Unleash, he's our political director there, is we should have transparency in how much do things cost when you buy them? How much are the prescription drugs going to cost? Probably too much. How much is that hospital visit going to cost? How much is it going to cost to get an MRI? My wife had an MRI, a few months ago. We got like a $5,000 bill. We thought, hey, isn't this covered by insurance? And, and now we got a bill collector after us. I mean, the whole system of pricing is out of control. But one of the things about Medicaid, John, is that some studies have been done. The Wall Street Journal reported on this week, that people who don't have any health insurance, their health outcomes are no worse than people on Medicaid. So Medicaid isn't actually helping people's health.
Medicaid is such bad medicine, and so few doctors accept Medicaid patients that, frankly, our pets get far better care than our Medicaid patients. That's atrocious. We need to have Medicaid improved, and that costs less, actually, not more, if you structure it properly.
So last question on the way out, John. I've asked all the guests this over the last couple hours, so I want to put you on the line on this one. What are the odds that this bill gets, I'm saying 80% that the bill is signed into law by the end of the summer. What do you think the odds are that this gets done?
Some version of this bill, 95%, because if it fail would basically completely tank the Trump administration, slow the momentum. It would end the Trump term in its first year, and that's not an option. It's going to pass, and Republicans realize that. It's like the final charge in a battle. You have to reach the enemy's trench line, and you have to win.
Yeah, failure is not an option here. We have some ads running at Unleash Prosperity that demonstrate to people that if we don't get this done, the average family is facing a $2,500 tax increase. And John, they don't have the money because after Biden inflation, the idea of a $2,500 increase in taxes is pretty awe-inspiring.
I agree. I think we're going to get it, but we won't get it without an effort by people in your audience to contact a member of Congress and say, we elected you to do this. What good are you if you don't pass it?
Yeah. John Fund, thank you so much for joining us. John Fund from National Review. You know him from his many, many years at the Wall Street Journal and so on.
Life insurers put life into the things you live for. The new factory that's hiring your neighbors. Maintenance on the bridge that keeps traffic flowing. The paycheck that puts pizza night on the table. Life insurers contribute $8 trillion to communities and local economies through bond purchases and other investments, and protect the financial security of 90 million American families, like yours. See how life insurers put life into America at acli.com. Paid for by the American Council of Life Insurers.